Some say that courage is facing your fear and overcoming it. Others say that courage is having no fear at all. Now, a lot of us, we would like to be more courageous, especially when it comes to pursuing certain goals that we have. But we have a big fear that stops us, and sometimes we find it very difficult to face down that fear and overcome it. Now, in this video today, I'm going to go over the relationship between fear and courageousness and how to easily overcome that fear so that courage itself becomes natural, intuitive, and easy. Check this out. Welcome to the Power of Quiet, the simple way to self-realization. So if you want total control of your mind and more happiness and abundance in your life, then you've come to the right place. So if you're new here, make sure to subscribe. You're going to love what we show you because it is 100% provable. What we do here is simple, practical, and you get to see real-world results. And if you're a regular here, you love the work that we do, and it makes a big difference in your life. Releasing is a huge benefit for you, then let us know. Hit the like button below and share this video with your friends. Let's get this method out to the rest of the world so we can make the whole world a much more positive place for all of us to be in. Now, today I want to talk about courageousness. It's one of the emotions on the chart that Lester Levinson pointed out, right? We have at the bottom, ag-flap, apathy, grief, fear, lust, anger, pride. And then we have courageousness, acceptance, and peace. And so all of those lower negative emotions, Lester called ag-flap. And courageousness, acceptance, and peace he calls cap. And he said, you gotta eliminate all the ag-flap. And in order to do that, you gotta cap it, right? You gotta use courageousness to face your fear, bring it up, and realize that it's just a feeling. And even Lester pointed out that most of the psychological and people that work on the mind, they have very little understanding of feelings. They just see feelings as something that's natural, that's a part of the human nature, and we're supposed to cherish feelings. And the feelings that are problematic to us, like fear, anger, stress, stuff like that, right, those will never go away. The best we could do is just kind of manipulate and manage them a little bit. But what Lester pointed out is that's not true. All feelings are just programs that we programmed in to say that in a certain situation, it triggers this feeling, this reaction inside of me. And we programmed it that way. Otherwise, why would somebody who walks up to the edge of a cliff have a great deal of fear, like they're just shaking and they, like, oh, I got to get back from this? Or conversely, you could have another person walk up to that same cliff and have no fear whatsoever and just stand at the edge and go, hey, this is a great view. Why does one have a feeling of fear and the other not? If the fear is supposed to be real and it's supposed to be purposeful in that situation, then it should be so for everybody. So if one person has fear and another person doesn't, it's that person who programmed themselves with fear to have it. Now, all of us have fear. And when we're looking at this chart of emotions, we see that the extremities on the chart tend to resonate. Like if you take the extreme ends of the chart, apathy at the bottom and peace at the top, sometimes they seem to resonate. They look a lot alike. Somebody who's in apathy can sometimes seem very peaceful. They're like, nothing bothers me, I'm okay. But The difference is that somebody who's in apathy, number one, they have no energy and they have no ability really to move forward and take positive action. You look at somebody in apathy, they have very little energy. They can hardly get themselves out of bed. And while that might seem very peaceful, they just don't have the energy to take action should they choose. And they might play it off like, oh, nothing matters, I'm just being peaceful. Well, if you can't do it, then that's not freedom. On the other end of the extremity, when you look at peace, it might look the same. You know, someone who's in peace is like, well, I don't need to do anything, nothing needs to be done, everything's perfect. But that's not coming from apathy of like, well, I don't need to do anything because I can, so why bother? See, somebody who's in peace might say, well, nothing needs to be done. I'm just going to sit here and just sit on my butt and enjoy life. The difference is that somebody in peace can take action like that and has an abundance of energy to take that action. Now, if you step down and step in on the chart on both extremes a little bit, now you're looking at acceptance and grief. And those tend to resonate as well. Sometimes when we feel like, or we seem like we've lost someone or something important, and we're feeling grief, and then all of a sudden they show up, it's like, oh my God, I thought you were gone, but here you are. And we bust out in tears. And it might seem like we're crying, we're in grief, but in a strange way, we're really overcome with joy. And there's a term for it. People call it having tears of joy. And it's because they kind of resonate. There was a grief of loss, but then the realization of, oh, there was no loss, and I'm so happy for that. And it kind of just sucks up that remaining grief. It pulls it up, and you just kind of let it all out. But you're really in a place of joy. Now, if we go in another notch on both sides, now we have courageousness and fear. So these also resonate with each other. That's why a lot of times when we're facing something that we need to muster some courage for, there's also fear involved. And we're actually having to build up that courage in order to get bigger than the fear and take action. Now, to illustrate how closely these resonate with each other, and using the examples I used before between peace and apathy and acceptance and grief, my teacher, Larry Crane, used to tell this story about back when he first met Lester and he first started this journey of learning the method and releasing. He was living in New York, and he was driving through New York State, through some country roads, alone at night. It was a quiet road. And as he was driving along in the dark, two cars sped right by him. They were racing each other, right? So two guys were, racing, and they just blew right past him down this 2-lane road. And Larry was like, whoa, what was that, right? And then they just kept on going, so he just kept on driving. Now, a moment later, he said that he rounded a corner, and one of the cars had lost control and had flipped over upside down and had caught on fire. And the other car had stopped, was parked close to it, and the guy was out of his car just staring at the other car. And that other guy was frozen in fear. He couldn't do anything. He was just staring at the car that was on fire and his friend that was inside of that car. So Larry stopped, he got out, and he didn't think about anything. He just took action. He yelled at the guy, hey, get off your ass, get over here, help me pull this guy out. And so he kind of shook the guy out of his state of immobility, And the two of them dragged this guy out of the car. And a moment after that, the flames just engulfed the whole car. And Larry said it was after that, that all was said and done, after all was said and done, that he found himself suddenly shaking uncontrollably. Because like the realization of what he just did finally hit him. It's like, whoa, I wasn't thinking about it, but I just went into this burning car to pull this guy out just before it blew up, basically. Whoa, that was dangerous, what I just did. Now, he didn't feel that fear at the time. He was just in the moment, taking action. But after the fact, after that act of courageousness, the fear came up and he was like, whoa, what the heck did I just do? And he had to spend a considerable amount of time just letting all that shaking go before he can get back in his car and continue driving. So you might say, again, that courage is overcoming the fear. It doesn't mean that there's an absence of it, but there's a definite relationship between the two, right? They are connected. And here's what I found out about it. Because there was a point in my life a while ago in which I was in a very precarious situation. All of a sudden, I was in a situation where I'd moved to a brand new city to pursue a relationship. That relationship didn't work out. And right at the same time, I'd lost my job. And so I had, no job. I had no place to live. I literally got kicked out of the city that I was unfamiliar with. And I reckon that I had about 3 months or so to find an answer, to do something about that. Now, in that situation, I had a goal. And I said, okay, I could do this, I could take this action and make this work. And I started pursuing that action to do something about that situation. But I found myself confronting a lot of fear. What if this doesn't work out? What if I fail? I'm probably going to fail. And I'm going to lose everything. What am I going to do? And this fear was gripping. It was quite overwhelming. It was hard to focus because of this fear. But here's the key decision that I made in that moment. I decided that, you know what? Whether I succeed in the situation or it turns into the most spectacular failure of my life, those consequences, that doesn't matter. If I can go through the situation, and regardless of that outcome, if I could let go of all of this fear that's coming up in me that I didn't realize that I had. It was kind of shocking how much fear was coming up. And I thought, wow, if I could use this as an opportunity to dump all of this fear, like a lifetime worth of fear, would that be worth it? And the answer was a resounding yes. Like, whether I succeed or fail in my endeavors here, if I can get rid of all my fear, boy, this whole experience will be well worth it. And so I focused on that. It took me about a month, every single day, constantly, all day long, from morning till night. I was always focused on pulling up the fear. And remember, these feelings are just programs. They're just feelings, that's it. So it's just a feeling. I can let that feeling go. And so I just kept pulling up more fear every single day, letting it go, letting some more of it go, and even more, and even more. And after about a month, I had literally let go of more than a lifetime worth of fear. And from that moment forward, I felt completely different. And here's what I realized about this connection and relationship with courage and fear. Because, again, a lot of us think that either courage is a necessary thing to always overcome fear, because fear will always be there. Or some of us feel like, well, courage should be a complete absence of fear. And if we do have fear, that means that maybe there's something wrong with us and we can't be courageous. Well, that's not true. See, remember, there's a connection between the two. They harmonize with each other. So really, you can't have courageousness unless there's fear. And this is what I discovered, is when I let all that fear go. How do we experience fear, by the way? We experience it as this voice in our head telling us about all the scary stuff that we want to avoid, right? This could happen. This thing is risky. You could lose that and all that. And it's just nagging at us. And we listen to that, and it's like the weight of these consequences promotes that fear. Another way that we experience fear is as a feeling. A lot of times we just feel it in our stomach, our chest, like a weight that's sitting on us, like, right? And both of these things can be eliminated. When I did that expunging of all that fear for that period of a month, what I found was that that voice that was always talking to me about, this thing is risky, what about that, I should worry about that, watch out for that, all that dialogue quieted down. It was non-existent. So every time forward, when I'm taking a risk, right, when I'm taking a big step in my life, there's no voice that's giving me doubts or giving me worries or anything like that. It's just non-existent. And likewise, that feeling, that gripping feeling that we feel of fear is gone, right? There's just no feeling like that. And so, would you say that you have to be courageous in that situation? I say not, right? Courageousness isn't even needed at that point. What's left over once that fear is gone is just looking at the goal ahead and realizing, hey, I could achieve that. And there's no doubts or thoughts or feelings to the contrary. And this all goes back to what Lester has always said. Hold in mind only what you want, and that's what you get all the time. So, by letting go of the fear, I realized that courageousness, it is even necessary. It's just, at that point, a state of isness. It's like a connection with beingness, which is a sense and a silent voice that's always positive. Unlike your ego, which always fills you with doubts and concerns and negativity, beingness never tells you anything negative, never tells you you can't or that it's risky. It's always saying the otherwise. It's always saying, yeah, you can. There's no problem with that. You're perfect. You're unlimited. That's the sense, the direction that you always get with beingness. And like I said, it's a state of isness, and it's beyond courageousness and all of that. And so now moving forward and taking action, pursuing goals. Like I said, it's beyond courageousness, and it's a sense of like an intuitive, yes, I can. That's so simple, so easy. Don't have to think about it. Don't have to pump yourself up. It's like the most natural state to be, yes, I can do this. I can get it done. I can find a way. And so that lesson that I went through and letting go of all that fear, from that point forward in my life, I just found this aspect of courageousness really to be unnecessary, to be natural, and found my life to be nice and simple and easy and fruitful and abundant and all that good stuff. And that's the beauty of this method. It's so simple. It's not making these feelings out to be some complicated thing that we have to understand and dig into and investigate. They're just programs. They're just feelings. And we can let go of them using this simple method that Lester gave us. So let me show you just how easy it is to let go of fear so that you can step forward in a more courageous way, in a more natural, in a more abundant way in your life. So think about something that you would like to do, maybe a goal that you'd like to pursue. But might be risky. Maybe it's starting a new business. Maybe it's starting a new relationship, or moving to a new city, a new country. But you're afraid. You'd like to do it, but that fear is stopping you. Right? Just think about something like that in your life. And when you think about just throwing all caution to the wind and taking that action and not looking back, see if that stirs up that fear. Right? See if you could feel that fear right now. You feel it? And you might feel it, like I said, in your stomach or chest, almost like a weight that's sitting on you. Kind of go, sort of a feeling, right? Now, the easiest way to get started with letting go of the fear is by simply discriminating about it. Now, when that fear comes up, notice you tend not to like the fact that there's fear there. And when you feel fear in your life, there's that tendency to say no to the fear. Like, fear, I don't need you right now. You're not welcome. You're not wanted. Get out of here. I'm trying to do this thing and you're in my way, right? That's typically our attitude when fear comes up. We don't like it, right? So we fight with the fear. We try to push it down. We try to distract ourselves so, we're not feeling it. Then hopefully it's not bothering us enough so that we can try to accomplish this thing. But here's the thing. When we say no to that fear, does that really make the fear go away? It doesn't, does it? In fact, the more we say no to it, the more we fight with the fear, it just seems to build up more and more and more. So this is what I call discrimination, right? Discrimination is the opposite of what most of us tend to do a lot of the time is run on automatic. And what I mean by running on automatic is like when that fear comes up, we automatically get out of here. I don't want you. We fight with it. And we just do it like that, automatically. And it gets us nowhere. It gets us stuck. It just builds up that fear more. But the opposite of being on automatic is discriminating. And we just ask some simple questions like, if I fight with that fear, or if I say no to that fear, does that make that fear go away? No, it doesn't. And that answer is obvious. And so, if that's the obvious answer, we could also discriminate about, well, who's saying no? Who's in charge of that? Who's in charge of the attitude that I have about that fear? Oh, that's me, right? If that's my decision, if that's up to me, and that's not helping the situation, if I'm saying no to it and fighting with it, then what do I choose to do otherwise? And by discriminating, that takes us off of automatic, and now we can make a better decision. So take a look at that fear that you have in that situation that you're looking at. And you might feel it right now. And you might recognize that you've been saying no to it. And since saying no doesn't work, and you're the one who's saying no to it, now you can make a better decision in this moment. You can be positive and love the fear, or you can be negative and fight with it, wrestle with it, reject it. And you know where that leads you. So again, the answer is obvious. Hey, I'm going to be positive. I'm done with that. That's getting me nowhere except exhausting myself, getting me more fearful. And I'm in charge. I'm having no more of that. So take a look at that fear now. Instead of saying no to it, just simply look at it and say yes to it. That's it. Just say yes. And could you say yes to that fear a little bit more? And could you say yes to that fear a little bit more? And could you say yes to it a little bit more? And could you say yes to it even more? And could you say yes to it even more? And some more. And even more. All right? Now notice if there's a difference. Just see if you feel a little bit lighter now. And maybe that fear diminished a little bit. Notice the difference? And what a simple difference that makes. Just doing the simplest of things. By discriminating, recognizing, hey, saying no to that doesn't work. What happens if I say yes to it? Wow, it goes away. And something like that is completely counterintuitive to the mind. The mind is that, well, no, fear's bad. You should say no to it. If you say yes to it, that's just going to make it bigger. Say no to it. Once you discriminated about it, you saw that that made it bigger. And like I said, what's beautiful about this method is that it's experiential. You just do it. You see the results that you get. So when you said yes to it, you see the results. It made the fear die down. And that shows that that fear isn't so real after all. If you're just saying yes to it, and it's so big one moment, and you're saying yes to it, and it's not so much as big the next moment, well, how big was it ever? And how real could it be if it changes from moment to moment? What if it's just a feeling? What if it's just energy? Now get in touch with that feeling of fear. And just focus on your stomach or chest. See if you could feel it there. You might feel it as like a clenching or tightness in your stomach or chest right now. Now what I want you to do is just open up an imaginary window or door right in front of that feeling, wherever you feel it in your stomach or chest. And just imagine that fear as energy, and imagine that energy going out that door right now. Whatever that looks like to you. You might see it as light flowing out that door, or water, or smoke, vapor, mist, just floating out that door. Whatever, there's no right or wrong way to do it. But just imagine that energy, that fear, just moving right on out that door, that imaginary door. And imagine that fear going out that door a little bit more. And let that energy leave a little bit more. And even more. And even more. And even more. And let that fear go even more. Just right on out that door. All right? And notice how you feel now. Notice the difference? Feel lighter? You feel more positive? And when you think about that thing that you'd like to do that might be risky, see if you feel different about taking that action now. Like, you just might have more of a sense of, oh, I just might be able to do that now. And you might not have a logical reason why or how you might do it, but it's just an intuitive sense. Like, yeah, it's more possible. I can do this now. I think I can. And that's beingness now talking to you. And it's always there for you. And you don't need to pump yourself up. You don't need to fill yourself with affirmations or any nonsense like that. Just let the fear go, and you're naturally positive and courageous beyond courageousness, just effortlessly. And this is how life should be. By practicing the method, we can all experience this firsthand for ourselves. This is the greatest gift that Lester's given us, to understand who we really are, just how powerful we are, and what all these emotions are about, and we don't have to mess around with them anymore. Just let them all go and be our real self. Now, if you have lots of fear that you've been stuck with, one thing I highly recommend is joining us. This summer, we are doing a 12-day retreat up in the mountains in Romania, a beautiful location where there's no distractions. And we're going to focus on bringing up all of our negative, unwanted feelings that we've been fighting with our whole life, fear, anger, all that stuff, and eliminate it, getting rid of lifetimes worth of negativity. And everyone who does a retreat like this is forever different, effortlessly, every time we do these retreats. So I'll leave a link to it down below, calling it the final step to freedom, because we're going to conquer all your biggest fears, even the fear of dying, so that nothing can stop you. Nothing can get you scared, ever. If you're interested in that, check that link below and join us for this final step retreat. And keep practicing this. Keep letting go of all of these non-loving feelings, these negative feelings, which are just programs that you put in, and see that none of them are real. They never have been. And then discovering what is real, who you really are. That's the greatest thing you could do in this life.